Cultivating Maritime Education and Training in Cyprus. I would like to call Mr. Kyriacos Patsalides, Director of Academic Affairs, Intercollege and Cyprus Maritime Academy.
Good day, everyone. I would like to welcome you as well to today's conference. The subject that I'm going to discuss is about cultivating maritime education and training in Cyprus and how we're able to overcome the obstacles to foster a maritime culture. So, the first question that we need to answer is why maritime culture pre-existence is crucial in order to have the proper training of our seafarers. And this can be narrowed down into 6 main elements. The first element is the knowledge foundation. It is very important for someone to identify why we are in this business. What is the maritime industry all about? What are its values? What is its purpose? As soon as we understand this type of business, it's going to be easier for someone to be introduced and become a part of this business. The second one is the professional identity. Nowadays, you find many people that say, why you want to go and work on board the ship? This is a tough work. This is not something for us. Stay here in Cyprus with your mother and your father. So if we manage to make people accept their professional identity, it's going to be easier for them to progress to their future development within this industry. The third element is the safety emphasis. When we have proper maritime culture, we are able to develop the most important aspect of it all, which is safety. Safety culture is one of the main reasons that up until now, the shipping industry is working all these years. In addition, we've got teamwork skills and at the same time, ethical contact. We're working in a multinational and a multicultural environment, so we need to be able to develop these teamwork skills, to collaborate with other people, either on board the ship or in the offices, and at the same time, to be able to work with professionalism, with everyone within the industry. And last but not least, we've got the adaptability. The adaptability is one of the most important skills of our seafarers. Being able to adapt in difficult situations on board the ship, that's what makes our business running. So it is very crucial for someone to have maritime culture in order to be known with all these elements. And by knowing these 6 elements, then we are able to limit it down, to narrow them down into 3 main pillars: knowledge, practices, and values. By being able to harvest these 3 main pillars, then we'll be able to shape the development of our future seafarers. Being able to cultivate maritime culture is one thing, but being able to identify the obstacles that we will encounter in order to cultivate maritime education and training is another point. So which are these obstacles that we are going to encounter in our journey to create proper maritime training programs and education, especially here in Cyprus? Here we can see a Venn diagram, and we've got these main obstacles that we will encounter. The first obstacle is the awareness and appreciation. So we can imagine that any lack of awareness and appreciation of this industry will hinder our initiative to create proper maritime training programs. At the same time, infrastructure. Inadequate infrastructure will provide obstacles not only to creating maritime training programs, but also to promote this maritime education, especially here in Cyprus. The lack of laboratories, the lack of maritime academies, the lack of maritime schools, this is a major obstacle. Regulatory framework. Most of the times, all these regulatory frameworks are complex to understand and to implement. And at the same time, some of them may be outdated. For example, if somebody starts to reading all these IMO model courses, will identify that many of the references within those model courses are outdated. So this is something that we need to consider. Qualified instructor and staff, one of the main problems here in Cyprus. It is very difficult to find the appropriate qualified faculty in order to train our young professionals. Funding and resources. Limited funding will result to closing down maritime academies, schools. We need to have availability of funding in order to be able to make all the technological advancements, which is indicated in this part. Technology integration. Technology advances rapidly, and we need to be able to keep up with these advancements. And last but not least, the industry collaboration. If we don't have close collaboration with the industry, we will not be able to identify the needs and the gaps of the industry. In order to create a proper maritime training program, we need to identify the needs of the industry. All those trainings, all those programs are based upon the needs of the industry. And what I have kept for last, we can see at the middle of this Venn diagram, the small shaded green polygon. As we can see from the beginning, it might seem simple that every obstacle is independent. But showing the shaded green polygon there, we can understand that every obstacle is interconnected with every other obstacles within the Venn diagram. So if you make a more or a big change in each and every obstacle, then you will see a small or a big change in the other obstacles as well. How can we see the impact of these obstacles when it comes to creating the maritime training programs? Here you can see a diamond. As you all know, diamonds are considered to be the hardest minerals around Earth, and this is because of their solid structure. It's their solid structure and their symmetry that makes them so rare and so strong and so tough. So this is how we need to see the maritime education and training here in Cyprus. We need to see it as a diamond, as a solid structure. And the simplest way to see this is to simulate our training in the extended Levitt's diamond. Levitt created this diamond structure in order to provide a more holistic approach when it comes to management changes within an organization. So if we see the maritime education and training as an organization, we'll be able to create this diamond, which consists of the organizational culture, the processes, the technology, the structure, and the people. Vital elements in order to have a proper operation of organization. The obstacles that we encountered before, we are now able to use them in each and every element of our diamond. So we can see that many of these obstacles are being repeated in different elements of our diamond. So what is the purpose of this? The purpose of this is that if you want to make a rapid change in the technology section, we will see that when we return back to our diamond, we're going to stretch out our symmetry of our diamond. So if we're changing the symmetry of our diamond, it means that we are changing the solidity of our structure. So every change that we have in each element, we need to have the corresponding change. This might be minor or huge in each every other element. We need to have a cohesive structure in order to avoid reducing our compatibility and at the same time to avoid having any issues of our organization. Is there awareness here in Cyprus? These are some numbers regarding the maritime education, not only in Cyprus, but also in Greece. As we can see from here, around 30 students per year follow maritime academies in Greece, 40 students per year follow maritime academies here in Cyprus, with the graduation rates to vary. At the same time, we can see that since 2020, where we had the first maritime high school here in Cyprus, in Limassol, there has been a slight increase of people who are interested in following this type of profession. Does it mean that there is an awareness? No, that's not. That's hardly the case. We still need to continue promoting the maritime culture to our schools, not only to tertiary education, to secondary and primary education as well. What needs to be done next? We need to have a common framework, that everybody will be able to work on that framework. And this framework requires from us, not only the academic institutions, but the industry as well, to instill this maritime ethos and values to the younger generation. It is important to have the younger generation being part of this industry. At the same time, we need to promote partnerships. Partnership with shipping companies, partnership with associations and regulatory bodies. At the same time, we need to be compliant with any regulatory frameworks. We need to invest in new technologies and training facilities. We need to have an effective human resource management practices in order to attract new people capable of being part of our faculty, being able to train the future seafarers. And at the same time, we need to have the availability of funding and resources in order to continue our work. So by embracing the maritime culture, then and only then we will be able, first of all, to effectively prepare individuals for a successful career within the shipping industry, but at the same time, we will be able to uphold the traditions and principles that shape our future development of our seafarers. So you can see here, this is a continuous loop. If we start missing some major points on the left side, then the right side won't be there to continue its existence. Thank you very much for your time.